The Ashmore Museum in London had long been a sanctuary of relics and whispers of ancient worlds. Its pride lay in the Egyptian wing, where sarcophagi, scrolls, and statues gazed with sightless eyes upon curious visitors. But none drew more fascination than the Mask of Neferkare, a golden funerary mask said to belong to a forgotten pharaoh. Scholars warned of curses, yet crowds came daily to marvel at its eerie beauty. On the evening of April 17, 1932, the museum hosted a private gala celebrating the mosque's arrival. Among the guests were trustees, journalists, scholars, and a handful of politicians eager to bask in its aura. Champagne flowed, and the echo of a quartet drifted through the marble halls. At precisely 10 o'clock, the curator, Drive, Henry Caldwell, stepped forward to unveil the artifact. Gasps filled the air as the mask glittered beneath the lights, its hollow eyes reflecting back the faces of the crowd. Moments later, as Dr. Caldwell launched into a speech, his words faltered. His face blanched, his hand clutched his chest. Before anyone could move, he collapsed at the foot of the display. By the time the physician among the guests reached him, Caldwell was dead. His lips were tinged blue, his eyes wide in terror, as though he had glimpsed something dreadful in his final moments. Whispers spread like wildfire. The curse of the pharaoh had claimed its first victim. Scotland Yard was summoned, and once again, Detective Daniel Mercer found himself amid superstition and suspicion. He began with the body. There was no wound, no sign of struggle. The glass of wine in Caldwell's hand, however, bore a faint residue at the rim. Poison, Mercer suspected, yet how had it been slipped into his glass in the middle of a crowded gala? The guest list held many potential suspects. Among them was Professor Leonard Hughes, an archaeologist who had quarreled bitterly with Caldwell over the authenticity of the mask. "It is a fraud," Hughes declared that night. "A modern forgery. Caldwell ignored my warnings." There was also Lady Beatrice Ashmore, widow of the museum's founder, who feared the Egyptian wing's expenses were draining the institution's coffers. More quietly, a young Egyptian scholar named Amina Rashid kept her distance, her expression grave. Some whispered she resented the removal of her country's treasures. Mercer inspected the exhibit itself. The glass case around the mask was sealed, but upon closer examination, he noticed faint smudges, as though someone had recently tampered with the lock. Inside, a folded scrap of papyrus lay hidden beneath the pedestal. When unrolled, it bore a warning in crude hieroglyphs: "Return what you have stolen, or face death." "Convenient," Mercer muttered. A curse written in a scholar's hand, not a pharaoh's. The autopsy confirmed his suspicion. Caldwell had been poisoned with cyanide, likely administered minutes before his death. Attention returned to the wine. The servants swore they poured from the same decanter for every guest. Yet Mercer discovered Caldwell's glass had been swapped, an identical one, but bearing traces of cyanide inside the stem. Whoever had exchanged it had done so with precision and daring. Through interviews, Mercer pieced together the movements of the night. Professor Hughes had indeed hovered near the wine table, arguing with trustees. Lady Beatrice never left the side of her guests, but Amina Rashid had been seen slipping briefly into the Egyptian wing. Alone before the unveiling, when confronted, Amina admitted placing the papyrus. "It was not I who killed him," she insisted, "but I wished to frighten Caldwell. The mask does not belong here. It was taken from sacred ground. I warned him, but he laughed." Her conviction rang true, yet her actions made her a convenient scapegoat. Mercer pressed further. He returned to the curator's office, searching for motives beyond curses and pride. There he found ledgers revealing Caldwell had insured the mask for a staggering sum only days before the gala. Moreover, correspondence with dealers hinted he had known doubts about its authenticity. If Hughes had been correct, Caldwell stood to gain a fortune by claiming it stolen or destroyed. The final clue came from the glassware. Mercer had the staff line up the evening's used goblets. All bore the Ashmore crest etched upon the stem, except Caldwell's. His glass was from a different set, stored only in the director's private cabinet. Someone had deliberately replaced it. With this, Mercer gathered the guests in the grand hall. Dr. Caldwell's death was no curse, he declared. It was murder, carried out by the hand of someone close enough to exchange his glass unnoticed. That person sought to silence him before his schemes unraveled. And that person is Lady Beatrice Ashmore. Gasps rippled. The widow trembled, protesting. But Mercer revealed what he had found in her ledger: mounting debts, dwindling endowments, and her signature on the insurance policy. If the mask was proven false, the museum's prestige and finances would collapse. But with Caldwell dead, the truth could be buried, and the insurance claim would save her fortune. At last, Lady Beatrice broke. "I did it for the museum," she whispered. "For the legacy my husband built." Caldwell was reckless. He would have ruined us all. She was arrested that night, her jewels clinking like chains as she was led away. The mask, however, remained. Scholars later determined it was indeed authentic, a relic of the late 12th dynasty. Yet the whispers did not cease. Guards claimed that after midnight, when the halls were empty, the mosque's hollow eyes gleamed faintly, and a voice like distant sand sighed through the chamber. Some said it was the Pharaoh himself, laughing at those who thought they could cage eternity in glass. And Detective Mercer, though satisfied with justice, admitted in his private notes there are crimes man commits, and there are curses we dare not name. At Ashmore Museum, I am not certain which I witnessed that night.